Good morning, guys, and welcome to a new episode of the show, The Reason You Are Broke. This is the show where we have a conversation about your money and your life. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about student loans. And I have an amazing lady here with me today. She's going to be joining us in a little while. But before that, let's talk about student loans. If you've watched the news recently, you wouldn't notice that the student loan crisis in America is at an all-time high. It is terrible. It is terrible. A lot of people have actually resigned their financial future to the government's hands. They think, depending on things like student loan forgiveness and other kinds of schemes that are out there, and you're kind of just waiting on somebody to help you pay off a loan that you took to go to school. Today's show is all about that. We're examining student loans. We're examining the things that as a parent, you can start to do today to make sure that your kid goes to school debt-free. We're examining the things that you as a student who's about to go into college, what are the things that you can start doing right now to make sure that you get that debt-free degree. And the third category of people is those who already have the student loans. Those who already are in college or those who have already finished college and they have this massive amount of student loans to pay. I've spoken to people who have mortgage equivalent of student loans. I mentioned that last time on the show. People have mortgage equivalent of student loans, $100,000, $200,000, $400,000 in student loans. You need to pay it off because it goes with you. Well, when you die, it goes, right? Sylvie is going to confirm all of that for me. But we need to think about how to pay them off. We need to think about how to pay those things off. So if I just throw out a few numbers there for you guys, say if a student has a student loan of about $100,000, right? 6% student loan for 10 years. That goes to about a monthly payment of $1,100 payment for a 10-year period. Think about how devastating that would be for a person who's just leaving school. Maybe you're leaving school and you're starting with an introductory salary of, say, $50,000. Depending on what you studied in school, it might be way higher than that, or it might be much lower than that. But if we just go with, say, let's give a generous average to a person just leaving school and they're getting $50,000 at an entry-level position. Paying $1,100 every single month on student loan debt alone. Where do you even get the money to start living on other things? The $50,000 is not even what you're taking home. That's your gross, right? Say you $50,000, you might be at a 12, 13, 15% tax bracket. And that leaves you with about a take-home pay of, say, like $2,700 every single month. You're paying $1,100 every month in student loans. And that's for 10 years. Think about the things you start to pass up. Think about how not flexible you are. The people who actually have those student loans can testify to it. My guest today, Sylvie, she had student loans. She paid it off. She's sharing her story with you. So the first part of this show, for the parents who are preparing to send their children to college. If you're in Canada, you have options like RESP. It's a Registered Education Savings Plan. Those are things you can start contributing to for your child. It's a college fund. Let me put it that way. It's a college fund, and you're putting money into that every single month, and the government matches a certain portion of that. Talk to your bank, and they're going to tell you what it's all about. But the thing you need to know is when you put money into your RESP, it just sits in a savings deposit. It's like a high-end savings account. It just sits in a savings deposit until you do something with it, until you invest it. The part most people don't know is that you need to, or you're able to invest that money, which is sitting in your RESP, so that it grows, so that your kids can use that when they get to college. The US has something called the 529, and CV is going to expand on that. So, for parents right now who have young kids, from the time you give birth to your child, you should start thinking about someday this child is going to go to college, or someday maybe this child will want to go to college. And you start putting money aside today so that that long-term goal is going to happen. And don't just put it aside and forget. Put it in there, but talk to your investment advisor and make sure that money is being invested in stocks or bonds or mutual funds or whatever it is that's going to grow, so that down the road, you want to send your kid to a school that's going to pay, you're going to pay $100,000. They could work out the numbers for you to tell you what you need to be putting in today, so that in 18 years, when your child is going to college, you have X amount of dollars that you're going to have for your kids' tuition. The second part of it, for the students who are going to college right now, you do have options of scholarships. You do have options for going to college debt free. You have to think about so many things. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and bring on Sylvie right now, because we would have this conversation. We're going to go back and forth on this conversation. Sylvie is a financial educator. She is a financial educator, and she's in the US. She's the owner of Beyond Financial Reset, a co-founder in 2017. That's Sylvia right there at the corner, and that's her on the main screen. Please help me welcome right now. You're on the show right now, Sylvia. You can go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Ida, for having me on the show. I think what you're doing is amazing, educating people about their personal finances. We cannot stress enough about the importance of financial education, because you can make all the money that you can, but if you don't know how to manage it, then you're in for a lot of trouble, right? So I do think that what you're doing is amazing. So kudos to you, and to everybody who is not listening to Ada. Please, you need to hop on there. You need to follow her, and because she does dish out a lot of useful information. So please follow and like her page. We, with that being said, like you said, I am Sylvie, and what started out as a quest for my husband and I, just to figure out what we wanted to, why we were in such financial mess, led to us forming Beyond Financial Reset. So Beyond Financial Reset, we did not set out to form Beyond Financial Reset. It was purely born out of passion. Because we've been in the US for 16, 17 years, and my husband had graduated school. So he had graduated pharmacy school. I had graduated nursing school. And I say that to say that we were making a decent amount of money, right? But we were in a financial mess, in the sense that we were owing upwards of 300 plus thousands. So it wasn't, and so we're like, okay, what are we doing wrong? We had gone to school, we'd done all what we needed to do. So why were we, and we're not big spenders, but we wanted to figure out exactly how we should manage our money. So in the last 4 years, when we figured out, you know what, we were doing things wrong. We're going about things wrong, and we put things in place. We had this financial awakening and just this reset on, we need to make things right. We're looking at things from a wrong perspective, and like I said, we were not spending money right. We were not big spenders, but we're just spending money on the wrong things.
Yeah.
And that's when our awakening happened, right? So in the last 4 years, we did what we call a reset, and so we were able to pay off our debt. And so we set about telling people about all this information. Like, okay, wait a minute, you can do this too, right? And so we realized not everybody was willing to hear this information. Just because you're on this financial journey doesn't mean that everybody's on that journey.
Yeah.
So we realized we were annoying people with this information. So we said, okay, we need to come up with a plan for how we need to dish out this information. And that's how Beyond Financial Reset was born.
Yeah.
So that's basically how it happened out of us paying off our debt. And we said there are people out there who need this information, so how do we get it to them without annoying the masses, as we are going around doing with our friends and family. And so we came up with Beyond Financial Reset. So Beyond Financial Reset is basically a platform that just encourages people through financial education, like you're doing, Ida, to eliminate their debt and build wealth so that they can live the lives that they want. So we offer courses and we coach people as well.
Yeah. So that's really the same way that I got started on this. My husband and I have spoken about it to so many people. My husband and I, we paid off our debt, and there's this information that you have and you want to share it with people, and you don't see the people that,
Hmm.
like, the people are not coming to you to get that information, but you know they need it. So you might as well just go ahead and start giving the information to the people, and eventually they would start coming. All
Yeah.
right, amazing, great introduction. So I was talking about the RESP, which is the equivalent of the 529 in the USA. Can you just throw some more light on that? What it is that people might need to know about the 529 in terms of saving up money for children's college?
So the 529 is actually a tax favored account that parents can use, or family can use to save money for their kids' tuition. And it's actually something that, like you said, we need to take advantage of. A lot of people I have spoken to have this fear that, what if my child doesn't go to school, right? But the good thing about it is you can actually transfer it to another relative. So I just want people to be aware of that. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
money that you lose. And now, as long as you can use it for educational purposes, then the money is not lost,
Yeah.
right? So there are a lot of us that want to send our kids to Catholic colleges, or other institutions that are not public institutions, or maybe, and you can use the money as long as, like I said, it's for educational purposes. The money is not lost. But just think
Yes.
about it: your money is growing tax free. And what do we talk about when we talk about investment? We want to minimize fees and taxes, right? So
Yeah.
here is an investment vehicle that's giving you that opportunity. So why not make use of it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if your daughter, or doesn't want to use it, maybe you have another daughter, or that's also another opportunity to give it to a cousin, or somebody else, to pass it to somebody else, generational wealth, like we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about.
Mm-hmm. All right, great. And then in terms of so that's for the parents who are thinking about saving up money for children to go to college one day. But then for the people who are 16, 17, getting ready to get into college right now, and they don't yet have that education fund that their parents might have put aside for them, what are the options that they have? I could think of things like starting at a community college and then transferring in your later years to the school you really wanted to go to. Say you want to go to an Ivy League school and all whatnot. Nobody asked you where did you start college, but everybody asked you where did you graduate from. So you can definitely start from like a community college, do your first 2 years there, which is cheaper, right? And then
Hmm.
just transfer your credits to a high end one Ivy League school, which is where you want to graduate from. That's an option, right?
Yes, yes. So that's another thing that we talk about when we talk about financial education, right?
Yes.
So it's like, when we go to school, when we start going into college, many of us came here, and I'll say myself included, we wanted money right away because we had these people back home that were relying on us for money. So there a lot of us who are sitting right now doing things that we did not want to do. So we're having career changes, right? So it's okay if our kids could take, say, a gap year and figure out what they want to do. Because just jumping into school and taking out all these loans when eventually it's not something you want to do, that's going to cost you money, right? So the good thing is our kids might not have the burden that we had as first generation immigrants to come in and take care of, maybe our parents and our cousins that we had back home. So they have that liberty of that leeway to just take some time off and figure out, do I even want to go to school? Do I want to go to trade school? Do I want to go to a university or college, or do I want to go to trade school? So that gap year, just take some time and figure out what you want to do, right? And then, or figure to have a mentor or just somebody to help you, guide you. Now, the other thing is, it is possible to go to school debt free.
Yes.
So I just want to
Yes.
put it out there.
Yeah.
Like, student loans are not the only way to go to school. You can actually go to school debt free.
Yeah.
So yes, we should actually have that hashtag debt free education. All right.
Yeah. Hashtag debt free.
Yes, because I think that it was just like, okay, if I'm going to go to university, let me just sign here, get loan to go to school. No, no,
It's one
there's
of those
so
things that
many.
we all do because everybody does it. Like you come here and
Yeah,
you're like, I need to go to school, and people are showing you how to go get a student loan. Instead of stopping to think, is there a way in which we can go to school without taking out those student loans?
yes,
When you
yeah,
start having those conversations, people are like, no, it can't happen. And even
yeah.
you talked about the gap here, there, it's not a popular thing in our community because
Mm-hmm.
everybody is like, hey, you need to go to school. If your child came to you and said, Mom, I don't want to go to school this year, I think it's a different,
Oh yeah,
something is going to come up to whoop your butt because they
exactly.
said they don't want to go to school for a full year.
Because think about it, in our community, we liken education to a certain class and standards.
Yes.
For us, it's like the doctors, and like we always liken that to a certain class status quo, right? But it doesn't have to be that. There's so many other ways that you can get education. So but then when you get into so much debt, it's such a burden. So we have to start educating, like you're doing and like I'm doing, educating people. Like, it's okay to diversify your education and not limit it to just the classroom.
Yes.
And so that gap year and just the child figuring out, what do I want to do? And people don't actually open up and honestly say, like, I talk to I have conversation with, especially like women. I'm gonna diverge here for a minute. Like us African women, our voices are not being heard. So when we talk to us and say, okay, is this what you want to do? Like 40-year-old, 50-year-olds is like, okay, no, I don't want to even do this. But then, like I said, you came here, you needed money, you did that. But do you want to go back and do it? No. So you just keep doing it. And you're not satisfied in that profession.
So
So
many some people get into like the nursing or the doctor field just because
exactly,
that's where they're gonna get a lot of money and not
exactly.
because it's something they really want to do.
So yes, and so you're leaving some other person's life, or maybe because you're satisfying your parents by getting that doctorate degree. So leaving a legacy for your parents, but you're not living your own life. So you need to start living your best life for you,
Yeah.
because you only get one, right?
Yeah, it really goes back to this thing where we talk about the life handed you a script, the way you were born, the way you were raised. They gave you, this is how life is supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to grow up and do, and then you just follow it. You don't
Hmm.
even know why you're doing it. Maybe because somebody told you to do it. And that's
Yeah.
why you just, yeah, I want to be a doctor. Yes, I want to be a nurse. Yes, I'm gonna go. But you deep down, it's not even your calling. It's not something
No,
you want to
no,
do.
no. But just because you came from there doesn't mean that's where you need to end up.
Yeah.
Just because you came from there. And that's why we educate ourselves,
Yeah.
and then we do better. We do
So
better for
let's tell
us.
people how they can go to school without getting
Yes.
into student loans.
Yeah, so we can first, like you said, we can get community colleges and do our two years and transfer to universities, right?
Yes.
And then you need to get a budget. What do I
Yes.
even need in school? What do I need in school? And then when you get a budget, they have grants. So apply for grants. I was
Mm-hmm.
reading this article that says there's so many grants and scholarships that people are not even applying for,
Mm-hmm.
and they have available. So grants, scholarships, make sure you're applying for them. And then work study programs. So you can stay in dormitory and, get paid to maybe stay in the dormitory and be like a dormitory head in the
Yeah. Yeah.
school, right? So,
Yeah.
hey, you're getting free lodging.
Yeah. I
And
heard about a guy who did that. He
Mhm.
he came from I think it's a guy who came. It's a Mexican immigrant, and
Mm-hmm.
he came here. And you're coming from that background where work is a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy, he came in and he was going to a school in the US. I think he was going to a school in Texas. And he what he chose to do, he accepted to be this, let's use the word dormitory, dumb cap, like dormitory, the
Mm-hmm.
person in charge of taking care of making sure that or being the person to whom other students, when they have a complaint about things in the dormitory, that's the person you go to. You're like an administrator there.
Yes.
He got free lodging, he got free
Mm-hmm.
meals, and he got a part scholarship because he was doing this job for the school. It's a job they would have paid somebody to come and do
Yes.
anyway. He's doing it, he's getting his free lodging, his free food, and part of his tuition is paid.
Yes.
So then when you're doing that, and it's not like it's a full-time job, you
No.
always have the opportunity then to go get an actual job in your spare time, which will cover up for the rest of your schooling.
And you can imagine how much lodging costs. So
Yeah,
you're getting that for free, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then the other thing is you can work and you go to school.
yes.
So and then studies have shown that people who actually work and go to school are
Do
more
better.
disciplined and do
Yeah,
better.
yes.
So that is another option. So and then the last option is you can, that's when we have people take loans, you know. So but and
Which is like
that,
the only option for most. But
yes, that's the, I mean, that's the last option. But like we said, we've outlined what, 4 or 5 options that you can make use of before you
yeah,
even get to the loan options.
yes.
Loan option rather.
Yeah.
And what I want to talk about when it comes to the loan option is how many people, I want to hear, those of you watching, how many of you know how much loans you should take when you go to school? Let's
Put it
let's
in the
hear.
comments, guys. Put it in
Yeah.
the comments. Let's see how much.
So how many of you know how much loans you should take when you go to school?
They need to go from knowing in terms of how much your tuition actually is, right? And then you work backward from there and see what it is you should be taking, if at all you
Yeah.
need to take something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be interested to
Okay,
see.
one comment here: no more than your expected salary.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. So no more than your expected salary. It depends on the program.
Depends on the
Okay, okay,
program.
that's a good one. And so, okay, so here's the thing. So there is this rule of thumb that I came across. If your salary, your salary should be 1.5 times your student loan.
So your salary should be more than
Yeah,
your student
projected
loan.
salary. So how
Yeah,
many people even know that?
that's a great rule.
So come to think about it, we're having this discussion with my husband, right? We're thinking about
Yeah,
our student loan. We're like, okay, babe, let's think about it. We went into his student loan like 200 and whatever, and mine was like 80. And we're like, damn, we were just signing this thing. Like, we need to go to school, you know? Like, a lot
yeah,
of us don't even think about what our projected salary is going to be. So you are watching, like, think about it today and let's pass it on to our kids. If you're going to be a medical doctor and you're making maybe 250,000, so you need to take that 250,000 and divide it by 1.5.
mm-hmm.
And so don't make your loans more than maybe 166,000. If you have to take student
Doing it
loans,
right here.
you know, so that's some nuggets for you right there. And
Yeah,
reason is that when you leave, you want to be able to still live a life outside of your you want to still be able to pay your rents, pay your student loans, and still live a life.
yeah,
That when you take so much loans, because they just tell you, oh, you qualify for this, a lot of us just sign, right? And
yeah,
then when you leave and they give you all these payments, you're like, whoa, your payments just exceed even your house, right? And you can't even keep up. So aim to make your student loans not your student loan should be less than, or your salary should be 1.5 times your student loans.
more than your student loan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Good,
whatever you're gonna study.
good. Okay, so I was looking recently. I was looking about the scholarship. So there are actually three categories of scholarships for people who are looking to apply to them. You have the academic scholarship, which goes on based on your grades and things like that. You have the athletic scholarship, which would then be for the people who are into athletics, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you have the scholarships that depend on the student's character.
Mm-hmm.
So the first two, the academic and the student character, those are really easy to get. The
Yeah.
second one, maybe because you're not athletic and all whatnot, but the first and the third, which is the academic and the student character scholarships, those are very, very easy categories to get. And then when you're looking at what types there are, there's local scholarships and there are national ones. The local scholarships actually have smaller dollar amounts. There are more numerous of those. There are many, many, many more local scholarships. It's smaller dollar amounts. And the national scholarships, for example, the Coca-Cola one, they give like $20,000 for like 150 students,
Mm-hmm.
but that's national. So there's so much more competition for that. It doesn't mean don't apply. It
Yeah.
just means your chances are better at the local one. So think about how many scholarships you could apply to, or make it a full-time job for your kids,
Yeah.
right? If the child can apply to, say, if the child can dedicate 1 hour a day to applying to scholarships, they might end up applying for 100 scholarships and only getting 10. But 100
Mm-hmm.
scholarships, let's say you were doing one scholarship per hour, which is ridiculous because you can't do one scholarship per hour. You could do so many more. The first few ones, like once you've set up your template and you've set up everything, you just need to
Exactly.
tweak a few words here and there to
Exactly.
suit that. But say you apply for 100 scholarships and you end up getting 10, $1,000 scholarships. That's $10,000 you're going to get for 100 hours of work.
Yeah. And I like what Noella said. Like there are also scholarships for underprivileged kids. Yes,
That's
because
true.
there are scholarships for race, there are scholarships for gender. So yeah, and you make it a full-time job. Like think about it. If I get a scholarship and I only put in an hour, and I got a scholarship for $150, I just made $150 in an
One
hour.
hour. Exactly.
So you gotta have that mindset of, I made that money in an hour. And at your current job, do you make $150 an hour?
The
Probably
kids
not.
are probably like less than minimum wage. They're probably like $10 Chick-fil-A that
Exactly.
don't work.
So that's how we need to start thinking about money, So, and you need to commit. I'm getting $150 here. I'm getting and like you said, the template. Once you get that template, you only tweak things around, and the parents need to educate them. Like, yes, sit down and make time to get those scholarships, because, like I said, they're returning money back to donors because people are not applying.
Yeah.
People are not applying for the scholarships. So why are we not applying?
Yeah.
Because we have, like, Noella is saying, on the privileged kids getting it, immigrants, we should be getting it, gender, we should be getting it, like, go apply, go to your state offices, your state
For the
website,
local
I'm sorry.
scholarship, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
states and federal, go apply. So all those opportunities, instead of us, going to all these senseless places that don't don't yield us any fruit, like, sit down and actually apply for those scholarships.
And don't do it for your kids. Make them do it. You can
Yes.
help them too. Well, you could pay. There are people who could
Yeah.
help you write scholarships. Get them invested in it. You can maybe pay for somebody to
Yeah.
help them do the first scholarship or whatever, or the application, the template. But the
Yeah.
thing is, those are also possible to do at the kids' colleges. They're not college. What's the one? High school. They have this career coaching people and all these
Mhm.
orientation people who are there. If your kid walks up to them and says, "Hey, I need help crafting a scholarship application. Can you do this for me?" All those mentors are there in school, and that's what
We
they're
give
there
it.
for. That's
Yeah.
what they do.
And even like, at Beyond Financial Research, part of our student loan demystify, we have some of those scholarships put together that we can give to the parents when we talk to them. Like, this is the scholarship websites that you can apply for. So we put
Mhm.
together those, and you can give it. We made it easy for you. Here are the scholarships. Go apply with your kids.
Yeah,
So, but again, it's just, we need to be able to sit down and put in the work, so that we cannot end at the back end of things, not spend so much money on interest and on student loans.
yeah.
So
Oh, I got a statistic here for somebody who got like $100,000 scholarship, right? And it's a 6% annual interest rate for 10 years, which makes them 1,100 payments, $1,100 monthly payments.
mm,
If you consistently pay that, in the 10 years, it's going to be done. but you know how much you would have paid?
Mm.
133,200. But you borrowed
Mhm.
100, but you would have paid $33,000 more. Why? Because you couldn't sacrifice and get some scholarships and everything and work your butt off in college to pay for college in 3 years at that.
See, that's the other thing is when we were speaking at one other conference and stuff, and we're like, okay, how many people know? And I want to know if you have a student loan in and you're watching, let us know if you know what your interest is on your student loan.
What
Let
the
us know.
interest rate?
Yes, your interest
Please
rate.
put it in the comments. US people, I need to see that.
So that was another thing, right? Because when we're like wanting to go to school, we just sign those loans.
Yeah.
And we're not pointing fingers here. It's just saying how um when we want to do stuff, lack of financial education puts us in this predicament. And we were in that space too. And I'm going to raise my hand, right? Because we
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah.
So when we were speaking in that conference and we said, how many people know? People did not know. So when you made that example and you said it's 6%, I was like, at least that person knows how much they're
That
paying in
person
interest.
knows.
You know, so people don't even know how much they're paying in interest. So that's another thing. It's like people just sign without even knowing how much they're paying in interest, what the interest rates are. So that's another thing.
I want to take us now into this thing of student loan forgiveness.
Uh,
So here is what I read this morning.
mhm.
About 95% of people who take the student loans might actually qualify for. No, about 95% of the people who qualify for the student loan forgiveness actually do apply. But only 1% of those who apply actually get student loan forgiveness.
Yep.
And the say because the conditions are very tricky. There are lots of tricky conditions in there that people don't really look at, and they're just like, "Hey, student loan, sign me up." So, can you talk to us about that and how it works in the US?
Oh boy. Okay. So first off, this let's say the student loan forgiveness is still this idea of relying on the government.
Yeah,
So I just think we need to student loans is relying on the government. We need to shift away from this idea of relying on the government. And clearly the government, we need to stop. Government is not going to bail us out. All right. We need to figure out ourselves and start paying off our debt and figure out we need to take care of ourselves. So that's why a lot of people will qualify, but 1%, only 1% will get it. Right.
yeah, yeah.
So when it comes to the student loan forgiveness, the student loan forgiveness, the student loan repayment. So I'm going to speak on student loan forgiveness first. So student loan forgiveness is, you have, it's accessible to a lot of people who work for like the federal government or like the non-for-profit teachers and stuff. So when you work for them and then you make 120 qualified payments,
Mm-hmm.
then they can discharge your student loans, right? So it's a good option for people who actually get into the program and can benefit from the program. That's if you actually succeed to go through the program. Now, a good way to do it, which people benefit from, is if you do the income-based repayment. Because with the income-based repayment, you can actually have like zero payments, because based on your income, they can say, okay, you're not making enough money. And so people can pay $0 for their student loans for up to, maybe 2-3 years, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're a teacher and you're making less than minimum wage, and then you're not making enough. So they say, okay, you're going to pay $0 for your student loans for 4 years. So that's a chunk of money cut off your student loans. And then after 10 years or 120 payments, they discharge your student loans, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the caveat here is for teachers, they can only discharge up to 75,000, but look it up. Don't quote me on that. But that's something that people make use of. Now, there's a catch clause here for some people, because when you go by the income-based repayment plan, they can start adjusting your income, and it can actually exceed what you can pay if you go by the standard payment. right? So if your standard payment was going to be $400, for example, and they adjusted, you might end up paying $600 based on your income. So you've
Because you made more money, or just because they
exactly.
did some adjustments and then they figured your income should be this much? Oh,
Exactly. So that's another thing you want to be careful about. And then you look at it, okay, by the time I'm making 120 payments, I would have paid off this loan. So it doesn't make any sense for me to be on the, income-based repayment plan or the student loan forgiveness plan, right? And
mm-hmm.
the other thing about it is you only can be with a federal, you only work on federal loans.
Okay.
So if you're, say you have federal loans and your loans are like 5%, and it doesn't give you the option to refinance your loans to cheaper rates, because if you do, then you are disqualified. So say you're on this plan and you have an option to go 3% on
Mm-hmm.
maybe a private lender. And
Mm-hmm.
you find out after you've been on that plan for 6, 7 years that you don't qualify. Now you've accrued interest or a higher interest, right?
Yeah.
For say 5, 6, 7 years because you had to stay on the federal plan.
At what point do they tell you you don't qualify?
It just depends on you and I think how much you have to keep in touch with them. Like the teachers, I think you have to reapply every year.
Mm-hmm.
You have to check out. You have to check on the website. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure.
I have a friend who mentioned to me that she was actually on the student loan forgiveness plan.
Hmm.
But the one she's on, it's the forgiven amount every single year. They
Hmm.
reevaluate every single year
Hmm.
based on your income, based on your family situation, and based on the job you're working at.
Yeah.
So you need to be working in a particular kind of job, in a particular kind of hospital, for example, and then you need to not be making more than a certain amount of income
Yeah.
in order for them to forgive you that loan. But they forgive as you go. So every single year, a portion of the student loan was being forgiven. So, but me, when I'm sitting and I'm looking at that, so good for the person who actually gets that kind of forgiveness. But me, because of the way my brain works, I'm looking in terms of, why would somebody tell me I'm not allowed to make more than a certain amount of money if I know I can make more than that amount of money? So why would I want to restrict myself instead? Because I'm trying to qualify for somebody to forgive me a loan. But at the end of the day, I'm being slave to whatever they say.
To keep you in a certain tax bracket.
Yeah.
So again, it just depends on you and what your financial plan is, right?
Mhm.
So to me, you just have to assess your financial situation and what risk you're willing to take, is what I would say. So, but again, when it comes to, so that's the forgiveness part. Now you
Mhm.
have the repayment part, where the repayment part is where you work for, say, a rural area, and then they forgive a certain part of your loan, right? So you
Mhm.
have like medical. This is common with medical providers.
Mhm.
And so you go, they say, okay, we have this hard to staff areas, and you go work for them for 2 years, or 3 years, or however long your contract is, and we're gonna forgive you maybe 50,000 or 80,000 or however long, and then they forgive your loans, right?
Yeah.
But here is the good thing about this forgiveness part. The fine prints about this loans, like you're doing with the government, you do not want to mess with these people, all right? Because when you mess with these people, they will come with you guns blazing, all right? And so we already know that student loans are like an obligation, okay?
Yeah.
And so if you, I just pulled up like their, I wanted to read because a lot of people were like signed this stuff in, are not aware of like the fine print. So I actually pulled this up on their website.
Yeah.
So if you forfeit, when you breach the contract of like the student repayment, it says that a participant who breaches the commitment is going to pay the amount of the loan repayment paid to the participant representing any period of obligated service not completed, and then you're going to pay 7,500 multiplied by the number of months of obligated service not completed. And then the interest on the above amounts at the maximum legal prevailing rate. Okay. And then they even gave like an example of somebody who, say, Dr. Jane Smith entered into a 2-year contract. And y'all need to listen to this.
Uh-huh.
She entered into a 2-year contract with them for full-time service, effective January 14, 2020. Her service end date is January 13, 2022, right? So she received 50,000. And so in financial support to apply towards her qualifying educational loans. She was terminated for cause by her service site at the end of workday on March 31st, 2021. So about a year into her contract.
Yeah.
Then the NHSC determines that her default on her LRP contract on April 1st, 2021, and serve 443 days of her 2-year contract. So service obligation. So Dr. Smith is liable to the United States for, get this, $19,699 for the loan repayment received for obligated service not completed,
Uh-huh.
and 75,000 for the months of service not completed. So 7,500 times 10.
Uh-huh.
Her total LRP debt of $94,699 will begin accruing interest at the maximum legal prevailing rate of her default date on April 1st, 2021. So she will receive a default notice from the Debt Collection Center specifying the amount the United States is entitled to recover as set forth above. That's for the 50,000.
Okay, wait. As you were talking, I was putting down the numbers. So they gave her $50,000. She received $19,000 equivalent, but now she owes them 94,000 after working for them for a year. They gave you 50. Worked. You paid some. Well, you forgiven some, and now you owe them 94,600. Okay.
So that's
whoever wants to go for whoever wants to choose student loan forgiveness as their first option.
Yeah.
Go in peace.
So that's the student loan repayment fine print that people don't read. And so it's, again, like the education part of it. We're saying we need to take ownership of our behaviors and stop relying on people and stop relying on others to bail us out. Not because first of all, we're so hardworking, right? And I've seen this happen to somebody because, like they say, it's for cost, right? And we have states that are fire at will.
Yeah, that's Texas.
Yes. And so I've seen this happen to somebody where it's like, okay, they just let you go when you're almost like 2 months into your contract being expired, and so you're left. Just imagine how much money you have to pay. So when it came, I had an opportunity to sign this contract, to pay off my student loans. We were talking about this, and I said, oh hell no, we're not doing that. We're going to pay off this loan, just because that puts you in a position, that puts you at the beck and call of your employer, because your employer now knows that they've got you in the palm of their hands.
Yes.
So that's just something that I also want people to be aware of. Like, yes, it's a good option, but you're very gullible.
Beware of the fine prints. Beware of what risk you want to tolerate, and figure out what's best for you.
Yeah.
The thing is, a lot of people don't even consider any of these options. For one thing, they don't know that those are the fine prints, or they don't know that there's another way to do this. So really, when we're doing all of these shows and when we're sharing all of this information, it's really to get you guys to start being intentional with your money, take your lives into your hands, and make some changes so that you can create the life that you want, and not the life that the government or whoever is handing to you. Yeah. So let's go personal. How much loans did you pay off?
So, so my husband had 200 plus, and I had 80 plus loans.
Yeah.
So that we've paid off. But in the last year, we paid off 100 and 37,000. In the last in 2 years we paid up 137. So the reason we don't again know the total amount is because we were very good with numbers. Yeah, like everybody. But yeah, that's what I can tell you.
And you already mentioned that you did not consider you did not want to take this forgiveness option because of all the traps that are in
No,
there. Yeah.
no, the repayment option. No, did not want to do that.
So a lady I was talking to a few days ago, she told me that she doesn't know of any options that are available for grad students to go to school without student loans. Do you have you come across any that you want to share?
I mean, just work and pay your loans, and if you, I mean, not loans, pay
Tuition.
your tuition. I mean, and if you have to go part time, you go part time, so you can pay your loans, and then just scholarships and grants.
Yeah.
They have scholarships and grants for grad students too. So you
Yeah.
just have to look deep.
Yeah. Here's the thing about the mind. I want to go into the mindset thing.
Mm,
When you tell yourself that it's not possible,
mm,
you stop looking for solutions.
mm,
But when you start asking yourself, how can I make this happen? Oh, this
mm,
is what I want.
mm,
How can I make this happen? It's just like Facebook, it's like social media. When you start
mm,
searching for things, the things come. The mind works exactly in the same way. When you tell yourself, I can't, you don't look, but when you start looking, all of those things start popping out, and you're like, oh, where
mm.
was this information hiding before?
Yes,
That's
yeah.
what you did. That's what I did. And right now we're debt free, and you're debt free, and it
Mm,
feels, I
yeah.
don't know, it feels amazing.
It's the mindset. It's the mindset. It's like it's shifting from I can't to I can.
Hmm.
It's shifting from I can to I can. And when 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 we start telling people like you can be debt free, it's like, oh no, it's not possible. It's like, okay, that's right there is saying you're already admitting defeat.
Yeah.
But when you say I how can I do that, then that's when you start putting plans in motion. That's when you start looking for possibilities. Another thing is, people say, okay, I've done everything I can, and it's like, okay, what what have you done? And talk to your accountability partner. Let somebody else look at you and see what you have done. Because sometimes you might be looking at yourself and saying, okay, I have done everything I can, but then there's something else you can do.
Hmm.
But you don't even know it.
Yeah.
So to have somebody look at you and be like, oh, well, there's something else I haven't really done that I can do.
Yeah.
So there's always something you can do that you might be missing.
Yeah.
If you want it bad enough, there's something you can do. That's legal.
Oh, of course. Oh, everything here we're talking about is kosher. Everything legal, guys.
so yeah, definitely legal. So
Oh yeah. So let me see if I can go through a few comments here. Here's Kennedy saying they even bribe you with grants. They bribe you
mm,
with grants to go do some of those things that you really don't want to do. So
yes,
you can get into those professions that I think that's what he's talking about.
mm, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yuri here says, especially Anglophones, we believe so much in titles, in dressing up and going to an office. Our parents believe you were successful if you were an engineer, a doctor, a PhD, etc.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
if you
I
did not
talk.
have a title, you're
Yeah,
not successful. And and then you come over to the US, you see all the successful people, and they don't even have titles.
they don't. Some didn't even go to college, but they did a trade and they marketed their skills, and they are like millionaires right now. And you say, but how
Yes,
did that person do it?
yes, yes. And it's so interesting because now we look at people. It's not about the title. It's just how can you impact the world?
Yeah,
What change are you making in the world?
yeah,
But the mindset back home is, so you have to have a title to have so much impact in the world. But no, no.
yeah, yeah. You don't. Apply to anything you can. Anything, and you will be surprised how easy you can get scholarships. That is true. There are so many scholarships, like Sylvie just mentioned. There are scholarships that are being returned to the donors because nobody is applying to them. Those
Mhm.
small, there are lots of companies that will give out like $1,000 scholarships here and there. They just have that in their budget, and they're like, okay, we're gonna give it to some deserving person. Sometimes even ask the place you're working at if they have any of those tuition reimbursement or any of those things that encourage people to go to school. You would be surprised what you would find. I know Chick-fil-A. I heard about Chick-fil-A for the kids who might be wanting to go starting out like high school going into university. Chick-fil-A actually offers scholarships and grants to people who work part-time there while going to university.
Yeah.
They
And
reimburse you tuition.
yeah, it's good that you mentioned about like because even at your job they would offer like 3-4 thousands for you to go to school, so people can take advantage of that as well. Take 1 or 2 courses and while you're working and go to school. So that's
Yeah,
another option for you to not take loans and make use of that.
yeah. Here, let's see what I've missed. We don't take time to read before signing. Yeah, that's true. Great knowing. Many people need to know this before falling into the trap. I think he was talking about student loans there, and also about, well, not student loan, of course we're talking about student loans. I think he was talking about the point where you were talking about it's 1.5 of your salary.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. I didn't know that either. I found that I was like, oh, we need to pass that information to people because we take so much student loans. We even take student loans for things we don't need.
Yeah, and the silly thing is that,
We try to beat the system.
yeah, that's the time when most people are, say for the people who were born here and they grew up here and all whatnot, and the kids who are going to college at 18 and all whatnot, that's the time when they're becoming adults. And that's the time when it's like, I can do this. I don't need mom or dad's permission to do it. And by the time you want to look, your kid has signed all kinds of credit cards, all kinds of student loans for lifestyle expenses. They give you student loans for lifestyle expenses to go furnish your apartment. They will give
Yeah,
that to you.
yeah. Because they're saying like credit cards and they've spent so much money advertising to high school kids and because they become so loyal.
Yes.
So we need to just educate our kids when they're going out there to just stay away from all that debt because it's not doing us any justice. It isn't. It didn't do us any justice. So when we know better, we got to do better.
So for somebody who's looking at you right now and saying you paid off 137,000 in 2 years plus whatever you paid before, right?
Mm, mm-mm.
And they're saying, how can I do that? When I'm sitting and I don't see a way, what should I be doing? How can I make it happen for me? What do you tell them?
You need to stop eating good meat. No, I'm kidding. Well, well, that is definitely something my husband had to give up. It was like you're not eating any good meat anymore because that thing is expensive.
It's expensive.
Yeah, so we definitely had to get on, rice and beans, gone in, yeah, concha budget. Like no, no meat in the concha. That's it, strict budget. So get on
You
a,
have
on
to
a
be
very
uncomfortable.
bare minimum budget and just cut out anything we didn't need. We had to downsize our house, like really, really look at your budget and really cut down your expenses. And then you got to look at increasing your income.
Yeah.
Um, so extra overtime if you have to get another job. There were days where, he was working 27, 28 days in a month, yeah, that kind of work to make things happen, so work like your life depends on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing is just commit to it. If you have a spouse, both of you have to be on the same page. You
Yeah.
got to be on the same page. One person cannot be working on the go and then the other person is not working on the go, and that's not gonna help you all. So you got to commit to it as a team.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is you got to believe it. You got to believe that you can do
You
it,
can do it. Yeah.
because if you do not believe it, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you got to surround yourself with people that are have the same mindset, because your environment matters. Because again, like I said, not everybody's going to understand your journey. You might have to cut out people that don't understand what you're doing,
Yeah.
but you and your family, you know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's after you find your why. Why are you doing it? Because some on days you're not gonna feel like doing it, but once you have your why, you got to stay focused on it, and then those people that you surround yourself with, they will
Mm-hmm.
keep you motivated. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but basically, that's it.
Amazing. If you have questions for Sylvie, please put them in the comments. But if you
Yeah,
wanted to reach out to Sylvie directly, that's her information on the screen. She's a financial educator and she's the co-owner of Beyond Financial Reset. That's a website, that's the Facebook handle, Instagram. She's all over social. And
I'm
if you
all
want
over.
to reach me, you know where to find me. I am on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, and I am on Instagram. A friend said he's now starting TikTok. I think I need to try that too.
Oh, yeah. Let me know how that goes.
Oh, I'll tell you. And definitely on my website, I do have a money finder challenge. So it's just a 14-day thing to get you started, with changing your behavior, to get you started with baby steps. Essentially, this is the first thing I need to do. This is the second thing I need to do. So it's just a 14-day money finder challenge. When you go on my website, that's the first thing that pops up. You would be able to put in your email in there. I'll send you a couple of emails. You get intentional with your money. You'll find your why. You find the things that are going to work for you and your spouse in your family situation. It's your financial plan. You need to know why you want to do it, and we can show you how. You can always contact Sylvie or you can contact me. We do pretty much the same kind of thing. And again, we don't believe in the mindset of scarcity. We do the same thing, but we're on the same platform right now, selling ourselves in the same way, right? So, so
That's
this thing of
right.
Cameroonian mentality, it's like if somebody is doing something, I can't do it too. No, there is enough to go around. There are enough people to help. Go to who you want to go to. Talk to any of us. We're going to teach you pretty much the same things, and we just want to see more people win. We want to see more people at the top. We want to see more and more Cameroonians not qualifying for handouts
That's
because
right.
you're above those handout levels. We want to see more and more people there. We want to see you building wealth and changing your family tree and changing your legacy. So we go ahead. I know there's something you want to say.
Yeah, no, I think I just want to say that we work so hard. We work so hard, and we deserve to live the lives that we want. We deserve to go on vacation when we want to go on vacation. We deserve to stay home when we want to stay home. And I believe that we can do that. We should not be at work and deal with some of the crap that we deal with. So we work so hard. And so we put so much money into the economy. So we deserve what we want. So and that's just pretty much what financial education is, and being financially independent is. And that's what I think, you're saying we are about,
Yeah.
giving people the financial freedom to live the life that they want.
Yeah. It's in
So
your hands, people. Take action. Do something today. Do something that 10 years from now, you're going to look back and say, wow, I was dumb, but it's a good thing I started doing this thing.
yeah,
It's
time
a
is
good
now.
thing. So it's been an amazing hour. I'm so happy to have you guys here. I don't see any more questions. So thanks so much, Sylvie, for honoring my invitation today. And I look forward to communicating with you, collaborating with you again.
Many more. Thanks for
Thank you.
having me.
Thank you so much. Bye
Bye.
now.